Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, and today we're going to be talking about UFC 285, Johnny Bones Jones versus Ciryl Gane for the undisputed UFC Heavyweight Championship of the world, and it's going down this Saturday night live at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. You got, I want to say, the baddest man on the planet, but not yet. He's got to win the belt first, but we got the GOAT, the greatest fighter in the history of the sport, Johnny Bones Jones, taking on, Ciryl Gane. He's a bad boy. He's the former interim champ, and he's the kind of guy that you don't often see at heavyweight. When's the last time you saw a heavyweight that moves around like a middleweight, right? But he's also, weighing 250 pounds. He's a big boy. I just cannot wait to break this fight down. And then when you talk about the great Jon Jones, what record does Jon Jones not have? They kind of fucked him with that Matt Hamill, situation, because officially it says his record is 26-1, but between you and me, his record is 28-0. The man has never lost a fight before. He did not lose to Matt Hamill, that's for sure. And then people try to say, Thiago, he lost to Thiago. Yeah, bullshit. I scored the Thiago fight 4-1, Jon Jones. So then they say the Dominic Reyes fight is the one that he lost. And that one was a little closer. But, I saw Dominic Reyes win the first two rounds. I saw Jon Jones win the next three. That's 48-47, Johnny Bones Jones. So let's break down the main event, and then we'll break down the entire card all the way from the co-main event with Valentina and Grasso down to the first fight of the night, down to the man of Martinez's versus Saaiman's and all of that. So we're going to do the whole thing. So without further ado, let's do it. Here we go. Main event of the evening for not only that UFC heavyweight belt, but for the status of baddest man on the planet. We got the GOAT, Johnny Bones Jones. It says he's 26-1, but he's actually 28-0, taking on Ciryl Gane, who's 11-1. And currently they got it. Johnny Bones minus 155. The comeback on Ciryl Gane is plus 135. So what a fight. Unbelievable, right? So where do we start with this breakdown? There's a lot of things to discuss. So a lot of people have been putting a lot of stock into the training partners that Jon Jones has been, bringing into this camp and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I think it's perfect. My view of the people that Jon Jones has been bringing in is like completely different than everybody else's, because not trying to be arrogant, but I think people don't really understand how training camps are supposed to work. So when they see, they hear that Jon Jones brought in Walt Harris, they hear he brought in Mike Rodriguez, they hear he brought in Maurice Green and all these guys, they're like, oh my God, he's training with low-level UFC guys or former UFC guys. And it's like, what, is Jon Jones supposed to bring in champs to train with? Like, that the way camps work is the camp revolves around you. Not to mention these guys that he brought in, I think are perfect looks. Let me explain what I mean. So can we agree? Okay, look, Walt Harris, right? 6'5" southpaw, just like Ciryl Gane. But the criticism for Walt Harris in the UFC is similar to the criticism for like Mike Rodriguez or Maurice Green or Yorgan De Castro or any of these guys that Jon Jones brought in. The criticism is all these guys have one hard round in them, and then after that they fade. Maybe their ground games aren't the best, but all those guys could bang. So the way I view it is like this. Jon Jones, he gets to go with Walt Harris for one round while Walt is fresh. Next round, he gets Mike Rodriguez while Mike Rodriguez is fresh. Next round, he gets Maurice Green while Maurice Green is fresh. Next round, he gets Yorgan De Castro while he's fresh. And then he gets Walt Harris again while Walt got to rest for those last couple rounds, whereas Jones isn't getting any rest. So he gets to go up against these guys while they're fresh, and they are good looks for one round at least. And let me say something else. So people are bringing up, oh, these are the guys that Jones is training with, right? Who the fuck is Ciryl Gane training with? That's what I want to know, because every clip I've seen of the guys Ciryl Gane is training with, they're either little dudes, like I'm saying like little guys, right? Like he's training with the little guys. The one big guy that Ciryl Gane has with him is Alain Badeau, who, I mean, I don't know if y'all remember him from his UFC run. If you want to criticize Jon Jones's training partners, let's criticize Ciryl Gane's real quick. Because look, Walt Harris at least made it to the top 15 of the UFC. Like all these guys, like Mike Rodriguez knocked out Marcin Prachnio in the first round. Like all these guys that Jon Jones brought in are at least dangerous for a round. And that's all he needs them for, them to be fresh for that one round, to give him a good look of at least someone that's been in the UFC, someone that can strike. So I think Jones is getting the best possible look. Not to mention, he's not training with that fraud, Mike Winklejohn anymore. He's not training with Greg Jackson. He's training at the other Jacksons, right? They're doing their own thing. So, it's not the Jacksons that hasn't won a fight in 20 years, right? He's working with the other Jacksons, and he's got basically the camp is revolved around him. So I like it. I like all that. Now, stylistically speaking, I like the fact that Jones took 3 years off, because you think about it, you can't just go from 205 to fighting dudes that are 265 just, 6 months later, right? You got to put on the size the right way. And taking 3 years off, from what I heard, now I could be wrong, from what I heard, these 3 years, this man was not on the couch just, hitting the bong and reminiscing on the days when he was the man and this and that. And yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, this dude's been training for all 3 years that he's been gone. So I expect, ring rust with certain guys, but I expect them to come in here and look good. So, but how do they match up stylistically? Ciryl Gane, he's got fantastic volume. I mean, when you look at these numbers that this guy's put up, I mean, you can't talk shit about going in there with Tuivasa. It was supposed to be a 5-round fight. 3 full rounds didn't even pass. He already landed over 100 significant strikes. Against Volkov, 135 significant strikes in a 5-round fight. Against Jairzinho, 102 significant strikes. So we know Gane can put up the numbers. But we also know Jon Jones can put up the numbers too, whether it was against Reyes, whether it was against Smith, whether it was against Ovince, right? Like, so Jones has put up numbers against Gustafsson the first time. Jones has put up those numbers too. So I think the volume is going to be, I don't think one guy's going to have a significant volume edge in this fight. I think that the volume is going to be really competitive. And honestly, I think that it's going to be a bit of a chess match these first couple rounds. And people keep talking about how, well, all Jones has to do is just take him down. And, we saw in the Francis fight that Ciryl can't get up from bottom and this and that. And the guy's going to go for leg locks. He's going to do the whole bit. And the thing you got to understand is that, firstly, Francis is a much larger man than Jon Jones. Secondly, Francis caught Ciryl with that element of surprise. When you're training to fight Francis Ngannou, you're not thinking about, oh, Francis is going to come out here and take me down. You're thinking about, hey, Francis he's the Mike Tyson of MMA. He's got that ridiculous one-hitter quitter. That's what we got to look out for. Whereas here in this camp, training for a guy like Jon Jones, that wrestling might be a part. The thing about Jon Jones is he likes to beat people at their own game. And that's one of the things that, like, for certain guys, you try to beat people at their own game, and it's an ego thing. And it definitely is a bit of an ego thing here too. But he's beat every single guy he's fought, and he's beat them at their own game. I mean, he went in there against Daniel Cormier and took him down 3 times. He's been in there with, these last few guys with Thiago Marreta Santos. He stood up with him for 5 straight rounds. So, I think that that Jones is going to kickbox with Ciryl Gane for these first couple rounds, right? But eventually, I think that Jones is going to mix in a takedown attempt, but I don't think it's going to be right when the fight starts. He's going to be shooting from a mile out, make it, telegraphed. I think he's going to try to kickbox with Ciryl Gane. And here's some things about the kickboxing, right? Like, I think they're going to play that chess match. I think they're going to throw side kicks to each other's knees, oblique kicks, the whole ordeal, right? A little bit of volume striking. Now, Jones was never known for his one-punch power. Like, if Jon Jones at 205, especially during his prime, if you were creating a fighter in the video game, you max out all the stats to 10, right? Volume, 10. Fight IQ, 10. Cardio, 10. Like toughness, 10. Wrestling, 10, right? All these things, right? But the one thing you wouldn't max out to 10 for Jon Jones at 205 was the punching power. That's the one thing that, like he's amazing everywhere. He just doesn't have that one-hitter quitter. Like, I don't know the science behind it. Is it your bone structure or what bone structure? But I don't know what the deal is. But I'm curious to see if here at firstly, I don't know what he's going to weigh in at, but here at heavyweight, I'm curious to see if he can sit down on his punches a little bit more. And we might see some of those knockdowns that eluded him at 205. Like, I want to see if there's going to be a different kind of power coming behind Jones's shots here at heavyweight. So this is a tough one for me, because when I watch tape, I actually came out thinking I'm going to pick Gane here. And usually, like, tape's not the be all end all. Sometimes tape will talk you off winners, but sometimes it's right in front of you for you to see what's going to happen. And, you know, Jones has been getting hit more these last few fights. You know, they have been getting closer and closer. But granted, he also said that, look, my candle was starting to burn out at 205. I wasn't getting up for these fights. I felt like, you know, I beat these guys before the fights even started and this and that. Like, whereas now, like, he says that he's feeling that fear again, which is perfect, because you need to walk into these fights with a healthy amount of fear, just knowing that, like, you don't know the outcome. Like Dustin Poirier said, you're walking into the theater of the unknown. And Jones, like, man, when you hear this guy talk. So I mentioned how I watched the tape, and the tape made me think that Gane's a really live dog, and maybe he is. But when I hear Jones talk, and I'm not one to be swayed by interviews, but like, when you talk about elite mentality and elite competitors' mindset, like, just hearing Jones talk, like, firstly, I think he's one of the most underrated trash talkers in the history of the sport. Like, hey, pussy, you still there? Like, dude, his trash talk is on another level. It's not just a couple scripted lines you said in your mirror, ha ha, like, you know, I'm gonna rest my balls on your forehead, which is hilarious, but like, Jones, like, his psychological warfare is on a different level. And when you're hearing these interviews, the kind of confidence, the kind of, like, it's not that he feels like he's already won. It's almost like he feels like the amount of work he's putting in is, you know, this is his destiny to become a heavyweight world champion. When I hear this guy talk, I'm like, oh my God, like, I could learn something from this guy's mindset. Like, he is so elite mentally. It's crazy that he got me believe. Jon Jones sold me when I heard him talk. I watched the tape on Gane. I was like, shit, Gane's a live dog. These last few Jones fights have been getting closer. I hear Jones talk and he sells me on it. No fighter, I'll never cap a fight, you know, think that one guy's got the big edge by watching tape and then hear the other guy's interview and then go on the other side. But this might be an exception, man, because Jones, like, that elite mindset, he sold me. And then not only that, you watch some of his old fights and his IQ is just, like, we get so spoiled because we've been watching thousands of fights that when it comes back time to watch a Jon Jones fight for like a Jon Jones fight week, we get reminded, like, oh man, this guy operates differently. Like, this guy knows how to win fights at the highest level and he can do it all. So now I'm just curious to see if the power is going to translate at heavyweight. That's a big question I have. And then another thing I always used to talk about was how, like, no one is exempt from that first UFCL unless your name is Jon Jones Khabib, unless your name is Jon Jones or Khabib. But I also follow that up with, you know, my disclaimer was also, but if they stick around long enough, they will take their first L's too. Now, Khabib didn't stick around long enough. Very smart, got out the sport when he did. Is Jon Jones sticking around too long? That's kind of what I'm wondering here, right? Because, like, sometimes these fighters get old overnight, right? And you look at like a past memory of them and then they come into the octagon and they're not like what they once were, but because of who their name is and because of their past accomplishments, you start, you know, only harping on the past. And I've made that mistake many times, including this year when I bet on Shogun against some random 0-1 guy that probably won't be in the UFC this time next year. But it didn't matter because you got to look at where a fighter is at in their current state. And what's hard about capping this fight is I don't know where you know, Jones is at this current point. It's been 3 years. Now, I have inclination to believe he's been working these 3 years and he's going to come out here the best version of himself, but we don't know that anymore. And the reason I say stuff like this is because Jones has such a massive edge at 205 in a lot of these fights. He'd be 10 years younger than these guys. He'd have like 8-inch reach advantages. He'd be 5 inches taller, the whole bit, right? Now, Jon Jones is the older guy. Like, you don't often see Jon Jones being the older guy. I remember when he was the young phenom coming here. Now he's 3 years older. Now, granted, still has a 3-inch reach advantage, but it's not the same as when he used to have 10-inch reach advantages over these guys. His body used to literally be a cheat code in these fights, right? And I always talked about how, like, now that the 205ers are evolving to the point where, they can match Jones on athleticism, they can match Jones on size, the Jamal Hills, the Ankalaevs, like all these guys coming up. I wanted to see Jon Jones fight those guys, but he left right at the start of that. He fought Dominic Reyes, who Dominic now, has never been the same since the Jones fight. But prior to the Jones fight, Dominic was undefeated. Dominic was riding high on confidence, and he kind of represented the new emerging light heavyweights that, are 6'5", 6'4", got the 80-inch reaches, can put up the volume, can do everything, are coming in here as good athletes. So I really wanted to see Jon Jones face that era at 205, but you can't get everything you want. I also wanted Jon Jones to fight Francis Ngannou. You can't get everything you want, and you have to base it on the matchup at hand. And the matchup at hand is Ciryl Gane, who's one of the trickiest, most elusive kickboxers in the heavyweight division. Also has kind of a tricky leg lock game, which I don't think will work here. So back to the prediction. I mean, I think that Jones, we know he likes to beat people at their own game. So I think he's going to come out here, try to kickbox with a guy like Ciryl Gane. Now, can Ciryl Gane, come out here and maybe he be the first man to truly rock Jon Jones and maybe put him down? Maybe that heavyweight power, is something that Jones isn't ready for. And there's that possibility. But back to what I've been saying, I think Jones has been getting the right looks in the gym for what this heavyweight power feels like, especially like the point I made, how, you can talk all this shit you want about Walt Harris, but like we can all agree, Walt Harris is good for one round. All these guys he brought in are dangerous for one round, and he gets them while they're all fresh, back to back to back, right? So I think he's getting the perfect looks in the gym. First two rounds, I see being super close. By the third round, that might be around the time when Jones starts to get a feel for his timing a little bit. Maybe then he can mix in a takedown, get on top of Ciryl Gane. And from there, if he does eventually land that successful takedown, get on top of Ciryl Gane, I'm curious to see, if he can get off on some ground and pound. I'm curious to see if he can hold Ciryl Gane down. I'm curious to see if that changes the momentum of this fight. So, yeah, look, my pick is going to be Jon Jones here, but I'm going to sit back and watch this one and just, take intel and take notes and just see, what the deal is, man, because I know a lot of sharp people on Ciryl Gane here, like actually really sharp people that I respect. And I was almost going to be one of those people on Gane. When I watched the tape, I was on Gane, but like I said, I know it sounds a certain way to say I got swayed by an interview and that's something uncharacteristic of me. But like when I hear Jon Jones talk, man, you just don't hear greatness like that, because no other guys are 28-0 besides maybe Khabib, right? So he's just a once in a lifetime guy. Has he stuck around long enough, or too long? I mean to say that's the big question here. So we're going to find out. My official pick is Jon Jones. Probably not interested in the bet. Also curious to see what Jon Jones weighs in at. Let me know in the comment after this. After the show's over, let me know what y'all think Jon Jones is going to weigh in at. And if you guess it right, you'll be entered into a little drawing I'm going to do. I'm going to give someone a piece of UFC memorabilia. The only catch is you have to be subscribed to my channel. Subscribe to Half the Battle. You can hit the like button too, but subscribe to Half the Battle for sure. And, guess what he weighs in at in the comment section later on. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Jon Jones to become the baddest man on the planet Saturday night and go out there and defeat Ciryl Gane. All right. What a fight. Now, co-main event of the evening. For the flyweight belt, we got Valentina Shevchenko. She's 23-3, taking on Alexa Grasso, who was 15-3. Currently, they got it. Valentina Shevchenko, minus 600. The comeback on Alexa Grasso is plus 450. So, I've been pretty vocal that I think Valentina is going to lose her belt in the next 3 fights. I don't know if it's going to be this fight. I don't know if it's going to be against Blanchfield. I don't know if it's going to be a Tyler Santos rematch, Suarez. I don't know. I just have an inkling that it's going to be in these next 3 fights. And the reason being is this. Look, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm seeing some kind of decline out of Valentina, because I think that would be super unfair to her. And also, before I have this conversation, I want to say the kind of regard that I hold Valentina in. I think that she's not just one of the greatest women fighters of all time. I think she's one of the greatest fighters of all time and a true professional, good everywhere, great representative for the sport. So future Hall of Famer. So I got nothing but love for Valentina. It's just that, you know, all long reigning champions, like I said, unless your name is Khabib or even Jon Jones, and even that we don't know, you know, we got to see what happens this weekend. Eventually they all lose. Anderson Silva lost when I thought that was never going to happen. Right. So now it comes down to this matchup. And the reason I've been kind of like, you know, I'm not so sure, because some of these last few Valentina fights have been getting closer and closer, man. The Tyler Santos fight, for example, you know, she beat the shit out of Lauren Murphy, but Lauren Murphy's 40 years old. Alexa's got to be in her 20s still, right? My girl Alexa was born in 1993. You understand what I'm saying? You know, the Tyler Santos fight, I'm not sitting here saying it was a robbery. You know, both landed 3 takedowns, but Valentina outstruck her by like 22 strikes. So I'm not going to call it a robbery, but what I will say is that it was a lot closer than the line indicated. Like the line, what was the line for that Valentina and Tyler fight? It was like closing minus 800 Valentina, and it was a split decision. That was not how you cover a minus 800 price tag. The Jennifer Maia fight. Let's see what she closed in the Jennifer Maia fight. In Jennifer Maia fight, she closed minus 2,500. And yeah, I thought she cleanly won, but she also cleanly lost one of those rounds. And when she got taken down, she couldn't get back up from bottom. Now, what the big question people are asking me is, what does Alexa Grasso bring to the table that Valentina can't match her at, or that Valentina hasn't seen before, or this or that? And I have an answer for you. So let me know off the top of y'all's head, when's the last time Valentina landed 100 significant strikes in a single UFC fight? Go ahead, let me know. Tell me one time Valentina Shevchenko has landed at least 100 significant strikes in a single UFC fight. Never. Okay. Now, the most strikes that Valentina's ever landed in a UFC fight was against Lauren Murphy, where she beat the living shit out of a 40-year-old. Not to discredit the win. I mean, it was beautiful. But, you know, landed 98 strikes there. That's the most Valentina's ever landed. What do y'all think the most Alexa Grasso has ever landed in a UFC fight? In her very last fight, which went all 5 rounds, by the way, Alexa Grasso went out there and landed 153 significant strikes. She also attempted 353 significant strikes. Now, I'm telling y'all this. If this is, you know, a high output boxing for MMA match, I think Alexa's got a great chance here. Not only that, people keep talking about how, well, okay, so Alexa's got these good hands, but like Valentina can take her down to the ground. Fair, you know, Alexa was taken down twice. Her last fight against Vivi, was taken down 3 times against Barber, was taken down 4 times against Esparza. So very valid point that, you know, she can be taken down. I agree. But let's also bring up some other valid points. When she got taken down by Carla Esparza, who a lot of people consider to be one of the best women's MMA wrestlers, I mean, let's not act like Alexa didn't have a pretty damn close armbar attempt in that fight. And it seems like in these past few fights, where she's been getting taken down, she's been finding a way to get back up. And from there, the volume difference is huge. But here is what I'm worried about. So just because on paper, Alexa has more significant, you know, volume than Valentina, that doesn't mean that in this fight specifically, she's going to be able to get off on that output. Reason being, Valentina is so defensively sound, and Valentina has a way of slowing these fights down to her pace. And she's an expert counter fighter, you know, whether it's the check right hook, whether it's the spin kick, the inside leg kicks, whatever the case may be, she's an expert counter fighter. So I can see situations where, you know, Valentina's kind of hanging back. Alexa is throwing the volume, but I'm curious what these counters coming from Valentina are going to look like. Are they going to be as effective as they were, you know, against these past opponents? Because I actually think that Alexa is looking the best she's ever looked. We've already know she can go 5 rounds. We know she can land over 150 significant strikes in a 5-round fight. I mean, she's done it twice. She landed 148 significant strikes in a 3-round fight before. So the volume difference is almost double what it is. You know, Alexa's volume is double what Valentina's is. So from that standpoint, if someone said doesn't have 100 significant strikes because she finishes fights. Really, she finished Tyler Santos, that one that went 5 rounds. That was a split decision where she only landed 77 strikes. That was a finish. She finished Jennifer Maia where it went 5 rounds and only landed 62 significant strikes. That was a finish. So no, don't try me on that because I will fact check you. So the volume difference is fucking huge here. And is Valentina just going to take her down and crucifix her or something like that? I don't know, man. It seems to me like Alexa Grasso has been taking her jiu-jitsu pretty damn seriously. So to me, I see it being a close. I see it being a very close fight. I'll lean Valentina. It's just, what's the price? What is the price? -600, -700, -900, -900. Fuck that, dude. Like -900. I don't want any of this split decision bullshit where we all thought you lost the fight. -900. I don't want any of these 62 strikes in a 5-round fight bullshit. Like -900. I want you to come out here and knock her out. I want you to come out here and take her down and crucifix her. You know, I want you to come out here and destroy her. And I just can't get behind -900 in a spot like this. This ain't Lauren Murphy, who's 50 years old. You know, this ain't Jennifer Maia, who I have zero clue how she got a title shot. Like, Alexa is legit, man. So I see it being a close fight. I see this being a dogger pass situation. You know, I'll pick Valentina because I'm waiting for Aaron to get the shot because I think Aaron is gonna actually be the one. But I'm not writing off Alexa one bit, man. She's been making huge improvements. She's got a clear edge in volume. I think her hands are sharper. And I think her ground game has been getting a lot better. And I think that Valentina, back to what we were talking about earlier, because someone had prior dominance, and looked amazing, a while back, and they still have that same name, people, it's like when Chuck Liddell was getting knocked out every single fight, everybody still thought it was the champ Chuck Liddell, so they'd bet him in those fights and they'd lose. Not saying that Valentina is anywhere near that point, but what I am saying is the last few performances have not been as impressive. And my prediction is in one of these next 3 fights, Valentina is going to lose her belt. I don't know if it's going to be this one. I don't know if it's going to be Aaron. I don't know if it's going to be Tatiana. Maybe a Tyler Santos rematch, but one of these next 3 fights, Valentina is going to lose her belt. Man, I wish I had the balls to just come out here and say Alexa's going to do it, but I'm just not convinced. But I'm also not convinced it's dominance by Valentina at all. I see this being a competitive fight. So it's a dogger pass situation as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you lay -900 here, you better pray it's dominance. And I don't see it being dominance. I see it being a close fight. So dogger pass, I'll pick Valentina, but reluctantly at -900. Anyways, featured bout in the welterweight division. Here's another one with an interesting line. We got Geoff Neal, he's 15-4, taking on Shavkat Rakhmonov, who's 16-0. Currently, they got it. Shavkat Rakhmonov -500. The comeback on Geoff Neal is +400. So there's another line where I think it's kind of like what? Like, so Shavkat was only like -225 against Carlston Harris, was only like open -150 against Michel Pereira, open a dog against Alex Oliveira, and now he's -500 against the best guy he's ever fought. But here's my deal with Geoff. Geoff is hit or miss. When Geoff is on his game, and I hate talking about which guy is going to show up because I truly feel like that discredits the opponent, but literally, which guy's going to show up? The guy that fought Bilal Muhammad, the guy that fought Vicente Luque, looked like the fastest welterweight on the roster and had an insane takedown defense and get up game. Like, Bilal got in deep on some shots in that second round. And you saw that expert post by Geoff Neal, one hand posting and the other hand, pushing on the back of Bilal's head to get back up. That shit was disgusting, man. But then other times, Neal will come out here and just be lackluster, man. And it's like, he had that incident where he almost died. He had sepsis, he had congenital heart failure, the whole ordeal, right? So, and then you saw like his first few fights back from when he almost died, like the Wonder Boy fight, the Magny fight, even the Santiago fight. Like he looked like shit in those fights. But that last fight against Luque was a big step in the right direction. I felt like the speed was there for Neal. I felt like he was able to, carry it deep into the fight. The power was there. That was like the best Neal I've seen since the Belal fight. So what I do know is that when Geoff is on top of his game, he's one of the most dangerous guys in the welterweight division. And if that guy that fought Belal or that guy that fought Luque shows up, he's not a plus 400 dog here. If that guy that fought Magny or that guy that fought Wonder Boy, fresh off his deathbed, if that version of Neal is a plus 400 dog in this spot. So what Neal am I getting, right? Like I want to know what Neal I'm getting. I'm like I said, if I'm getting the Belal or the Luque Neal, I think there's value on that plus 400, man. Because look, I like Shavkat a lot for sure. I think Shavkat's a very bright prospect. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Shavkat, Rakhmonov, who he's 16-0, 8 submissions, 8 knockouts, right? So 100% finish rate. He's a tough guy, man. Like people say he hasn't been tested. That's just because you haven't watched his regional fights, man. I mean, I saw him do a chicken dance of chicken dances on his regional scene and still come back and finish that fight. And I guess kind of where I am worried about Rakhmonov going forward, because people are already anointing him as a future world champion, right? And I haven't quite gotten there yet. Where I have gotten is I consider him, is he already in the top 10 or is he like number 11? I think for sure top 10, possibly even top 5. And I'm not writing off the possibility of future champ. I just haven't gotten there yet, right? Like with Jamal Hill, I got there from the jump. I saw what I need to see, since his UFC debut. With Rakhmonov, there's still a few more things I need to see before I'm ready to anoint this guy as the second coming. And I need to see how he does when he's truly tested. I need to see how he does when someone fights back at the UFC level. I want to see how he deals with Geoff Neal's speed, if Geoff Neal actually shows up this time. So it's just tough because, like I said, we've seen drastically different versions of Geoff Neal. Like I said, that guy that fought Belal and that guy that fought Luque looks like a future title challenger to me. That guy that fought Magny and that guy that fought Wonder Boy and that guy that fought Santiago looks like he should be a plus 400 dog against Shavkat. So what am I getting here? I have no fucking idea. I really don't. What I do know is I won't lay minus 500 on Shavkat. There's a dogger pass situation. It has to be at a line like this. So, like I said, if you're expecting the Neal that, fresh off his deathbed, to fucking parlay Shavkat. But if you're expecting Geoff Neal at his best, it's dogger pass. I'll lean Shavkat, but a minus 500 is not a lean price. So this is a dogger pass situation. I think there's a chance Geoff Neal might be getting disrespected. The thing is, even in that Luque fight though, which was a big step in the right direction for Geoff Neal, his speed looked the best it's ever looked since the Belal fight, and it seemed like he's starting to find himself again. But there were still moments where Luque was pressuring him up against the fence, but the speed was too much for Luque. Whereas Shavkat, he's also kind of on the slower side compared to Geoff Neal, but he's got ridiculous pressure. He's got a presence about him. He's a guy that goes forward. He's a guy that's ultra confident, can mix in takedowns. But like I said, I saw Belal in deep on an entry on Geoff, and Geoff, like his takedown defense and get up game looks ridiculous when he's on his game. So is he going to be on his game Saturday? I don't know. So for that reason, I'll lean Shavkat, but minus 500 is not a lean. This is a dogger pass situation. So let's see. Now, before I talk about this fight between Mateusz Gamrot and Jalin Turner, I need y'all to do me a huge favor and smash the like button. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. And also, I'd like to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, DailyFanMMA. So, guys, and real quick, my dog's begging me to leave the studio, so I'm gonna open the door for him, and then I'm gonna give you all this badass promo. So give me 1 sec. All right. Why did it show the old Half the Battle logo there? It's supposed to show the new one, but we're figuring things out. But anyways, guys, I wanted to let y'all know something. I have a fucking amazing offer for y'all. So check this out. So we are back with another amazing promotion from Brett Apley and DailyFanMMA.com, the industry leader in DraftKings MMA content. So for Half the Battle listeners only, that's y'all, you can now get free access to Brett's MMA premium content for UFC 285. All you have to do is check out dailyfanmma.com/BFP and use the promo code BFP285, which gets you a 6-day free trial. And that includes full access to all UFC 285 content. So no strings attached, no bullshit. I mean, this dude's literally letting y'all try out his content for free. And I vouch for his content. You know, I think Brett Apley is by far one of the sharpest guys in this industry. And I've known him a very long time. And the thing I like about Brett is that both of us are super stubborn guys, and we can talk, we can debate respectfully, but we're not going to sway each other's opinions, but we can hear each other out. And he sticks by his process. You know, process over results, but not to mention his results are pretty fucking good too. So check it out. This is a free offer, y'all. So y'all go to dailyfanmma.com/BFP, use my code BFP285 for that free access. And that's going to include full matchup breakdowns and DraftKings analysis for every fight on the slate, premium podcast, projections, rankings, and more. Plus, you can get access to the lineup optimizer, which can spit out up to 300 DraftKings lineups at the click of a button. And guys, there's more than $1 million up for grab. Look, my boy Leo is agreeing with this. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I know you vouch for my boy Brett Apley too. So guys, there's more than $1 million up for grabs on this DraftKings week, including $150K to first place. And there's no reason why one of you can't take home that top prize. So Daily Fan MMA has already crossed 2 million subscribers, $2 million in subscriber winnings. And Brett just wants to help you be the next person to take home that 6-figure score. So again, guys, all of his content is completely free to Half the Battle listeners if you use the link dailyfanmma.com/BFP. All the important information you need is on that webpage, including the promo code, which again is BFP285, and that will give you access to a 6-day free trial. Free. If you have any questions about this promo or Brett's content, feel free to reach out to me, to him, and we hope to see you on top of the leaderboard on Saturday. So y'all, make sure y'all take advantage of this offer. It's free. And I have a feeling like Brett's so confident that you're going to get something out of this that you're going to realize why he's giving y'all a free offer here. So highly recommend y'all take advantage of that. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Mateusz Gamrot. He's 21-2, taking on Jalin Turner, who is 13-5. And currently, they got it. Mateusz Gamrot -170. The comeback on Jalin Turner. Oh, excuse me. That line's incorrect. Currently, they got it -200. Mateusz Gamrot. The comeback on Jalin Turner is +170. So very, very interesting fight. So all right, here's my thing. So at distance, at range in this fight, Mateusz Gamrot is absolutely fucked at range. If this guy wants to make it a kickboxing match against Jalin Turner, he is in deep shit. And Jalin Turner, one thing about him, he's a guy, if you've heard some of my old podcasts, this is a guy that's completely changed my view of him. Because if you saw his regional fights, like Jalin Turner was getting knocked out ugly in some of these regional fights. And like, I was under the impression that this guy's super chinny. He's got that tall man defense. I was not sold on Jalin Turner. But man, I thought he took a lot of unnecessary shots. But man, offensively speaking, just offensively speaking, his striking has to be up there with some of the best. I mean, he's so clean. The torque he gets into those hooks, the extension on those straight punches, the kicks, like he uses his length so damn well. Mateusz cannot afford to be on the outside and try to strike with a guy like Jalin Turner. Now, don't get me wrong, because the big thing, remember how I talked about, well, I used to think Jalin Turner was super chinny because he used to get knocked out all the time, right? Is he still chinny? So here's the thing that I noticed, while researching this fight, is that he's a lot better at not getting hit, right? So his defense has gotten 10 times better than it used to be. But unfortunately, he still is chinny, because you watch that Jamie Malarkey fight one fight ago, man, he did a chicken dance, but Malarkey wasn't able to capitalize. So it tells me Jalin is still chinny. Unfortunately, he's probably going to get knocked out, when he gets to like a Fiziev or one of these other guys. But I think Mateusz most likely not going to knock him out, definitely not going to outstrike him. But what Mateusz brings to the table is he has a very unique takedown game. It's specifically built off a low single, which is not something very popular in MMA. In fact, when Randy Couture fought James Toney, the boxer, he actually went on a low single on him because, non-wrestlers ain't expecting shit like that. And it doesn't often work in MMA, but like Mateusz Gamrot makes that low single work ridiculously. And he's got so many different finishes for it. And he's able to, start with that low single, then pick it up over your head, drop you down. He's able to do that and transition to leg locks, use it, get on top, and then start getting his game going. So Mateusz is absolutely nasty with his low single series. And I probably would go on record and say that right now, here in 2023, Mateusz Gamrot does have the best low single leg in the sport of MMA. I'll say that. So now back to this matchup, assuming Mateusz is smart, which I think he is, you're not going to bang with Jalin Turner, right, dude? Because if you do, you're fucked. But let's go in there and just dive on legs right away. Now, here's the thing. I've heard a lot of people talking about how Jalen's got a nasty guillotine, and he sure does. I mean, when you're talking about, those long ass limbs, like this dude's 6'3", he's got the long ass reach, tallest lightweight on the roster, him and Joel, but Joel never makes weight. Y'all call Jalin a weight bully. Jalin makes weight. Joel's the weight bully. Joel doesn't make weight. Like, to me, if you can make the weight, you're not a weight bully. If you consistently miss the weight, then you're a weight bully. So I disagree with a lot of y'all on that. Like, how are you a weight bully if you make the weight? Like, shut your fucking mouth. Not only that, there's got to be diminishing returns for a guy that size, cutting that amount of weight. And I think some of those diminishing returns are, he's the kind of guy that kind of fights in bursts, and he kind of also needs to catch a second win as fights progress, because I do see him slow down, but he's able to fight through the fatigue, and eventually he catches that second win and he's just as dangerous. But in those moments where he starts to, have to take a little bit of a breather, maybe that's where Mateusz can, capitalize and get off on some top control. But back to the long man chokes, the guillotines, the Darces, the anacondas, the power guillotine, the kind of stuff that, a guy that's 6'3" should be going for when someone's shooting on them. What I got to say about that is that what I've noticed about, the way that Mateusz sets up his entries, and his head is always in the right spot, right? Like his ear pressed on your chest, on your stomach. Like, he's not really just putting it on the outside, like waiting to get guillotined. Like, his placement is ridiculous, and he's able to scramble and transition and just kind of almost chain wrestle off that low single to where his head rarely gets exposed. And the reason why, for example, the Frivola fight, which I know a lot of people will reference, I was in attendance for the Frivola fight in Atlanta. Frivola was shooting more, blast doubles, which, he got them, but also, the guillotine was a threat in that spot. Whereas I don't think the guillotine is going to be as big of a threat here against Gamrot. I don't see Gamrot getting subbed. But the way Gamrot loses this fight is, like I said, man, if somehow Jalin can stuff these low singles or maybe get back up from bottom, at range, I think at range, this is as much of a mismatch as it is in the wrestling. Like Gamrot's got that massive edge with that low single game, which is super unorthodox, his scrambling ability. But, he's got a big edge there. But I think Jalen's edge standing is, from range, is just as great. So I'm going to pick Mateusz, contingent on him, relentlessly wrestling and, coming out here and getting that low single game going. Let's not even test our stand-up against this guy. Let's not pull a Jon Jones and try to beat this guy at his own game. Like, if you go in there with that low single series, I mean, Mateusz is literally a guy that will attempt 20 takedowns in a fight, and he's taken down all his UFC opponents, whether we're talking about Benny, whether we're talking about Arman Sarukian. And these guys ain't no novice grapplers either, right? So I'm just saying, man, he's going to land these takedowns on Jalin. It's just because Jalin, when I saw him fight for Vola in Atlanta, just because he wasn't able to get back up from bottom then, maybe that's an indicator, 3-4 years later, he still can't get back up, but maybe dude's been working hard in the gym. Maybe he's been locked in the lab. He was like 23 back then. He's like, what, 27, 28 now? Like, I'm not going to write off the improvements. It's just the fight needs to take place in a certain specific area for Jalin to win this fight, and that's at distance. That's at range. Jalin, you keep it at range, man. You're going to light this guy up. But that low single game is just so different that Mateusz brings. You've never fought anybody like it. You probably don't have people in the gym, because people in the gym, they're going for traditional single legs. They're going for double legs. They're doing, maybe a hip toss, whatever. But like, that low single game is super rare for MMA. And that should get Mateusz a decision or a submission here. But I don't know, man. Like, if Mateusz is a confident guy, he wants to test his stand-up here. Not saying he can't crack Turner, but I'm saying he will get cracked too. So proceed with caution, but I'll pick Mateusz. But I'm not opposed to Jalin potentially being showing some future greatness, because some of these glimpses I've seen, like, dude's got some stuff. I like him, man. He's dangerous. It's just the fight, like, all these other guys have been trying to fight him at range, which is like a big no-no, right? Mateusz most likely won't do that if the film is any indication, right? But if his ego, is through the roof and he wants to come out here and bang with Turner, then he's in deep shit. But most likely he's going to get that wrestling game going. I think. So I'll pick Mateusz. Now, kicking off the main card, we got a matchup between Jamie Pickett, he's 13-8, taking on Bo Nickal, who is 3-0. Currently, they got it. Bo Nickal minus 1,400. Depends where you look. Some places minus 2,000. The comeback on Jamie is plus 1,000. So, it's one of those situations where, how people talk about, fuck value, just pick winners. Okay, just pick winners. Then go ahead and I want you to lay 20 units to win one on Bo Nickal, since it's just about, picking winners, right? Don't get me wrong. I ain't laying no money on Jamie Pickett. I think Jamie Pickett, I've thought the same thing about Jamie Pickett since day one. I mean, when you're a guy that's been finished in the first round by Charles Byrd, finished in the first round by Jordan Wright, I mean, what else needs to be said? Finished in the first round by Kyle Dacus, like, lost a round to Joseph Holmes. I mean, Bo Nickal's going to have to pull a stunt here. Like, I get the experience difference and that, but the wrestling level is just on such a completely different level. And like, after he choked that guy out with the triangle, like the next day, because it was on Tuesday, right? Tuesday Night Contender. So the next day I go to the gym and I talked to my professor about it. And I was like, dude, like, did you see the Bo Nickal fight? And he's like, nah. And I was like, dude, he went for a mounted guillotine. Did he drop Donovan Beard at first? I don't remember if he dropped him. Hold on. Did he drop him first? Because I know he went mounted guillotine to triangle, but hold on. Let me just see if he dropped him first. No, he did not drop him first. Okay, so what happened was Bo took him down. Bo had had mounted guillotine. He let go of that, and then he started the triangle as like a mounted triangle, and then went to his back and secured it. And what my professor said was, for a wrestler to have the confidence to do something like that, that speaks volumes. And like, I know firsthand, because one of my main training partners at the gym, Travis Shehai, he's a former D1 All-American wrestler too, a purple belt as well. And he's like my encyclopedia for wrestlers that are making their UFC debut. Whenever like a really high level wrestler is about to come in, I always text my boy Travis to get the scoop, because he knows he's like deep into like the college wrestling game, just like I am into the MMA game, right? So And everything he said about Bo Nickal was like, yo, like, this is a guy. Whereas he told me about other guys that he wasn't high on, like that guy in Bellator who, came in as this hyped ass wrestler, won his first fight, then got knocked out in 30 seconds his next fight, and then Bellator cut him. My boy was like, yo, like that guy, we all viewed him as a joke in college wrestling. Whereas Bo Nickal, like, was a stud. And yeah, so I mean, it's no secret here that I'm picking Bo Nickal to come out here and finish this guy. I just think that experience might be one thing, but like toughness and heart and grit and determination and technique is another thing. And I think that Bo has those in spades, and he's a minus 2,000 favorite for a reason. So I think he's going to come out here, put it on Jamie Pickett, and get him out of there. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, I know y'all been waiting a long time for this one. We got, bro, how crazy is it that like Derek Brunson and Du Plessis on the prelims? Holy shit. I thought for sure that'd be on the main card. But next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Cody Garbrandt, or as we like to say in Brazil, Cody Garbrandt. He's 12-5, taking on Trevin Jones, who was 13-9. And currently, they got it, Cody Garbrandt, minus 175. The comeback on Trevin Jones, or as I like to call him, Trevin Woodley Jones, is plus 150. And the reason I like to call him Trevin Woodley Jones is because, okay, so this is a fight between a guy who can't take a punch versus a guy who refuses to throw a punch, right? So it's one of those things where Cody Garbrandt, I have my theories about what happened, and I'll actually tell you all my theory right now. Let me just pull up the record so I can actually give you all a timeline of certain things that crossed my mind of why, Cody, has fallen on some hard times, my man. I think there's a specific reason for this. Okay, so let's look at the history here. So, and what's funny? I remember when Cody was fighting Tomas Almeida, and I thought that Tomas Almeida was like the second coming of Christ. I thought he was going to go out there and destroy Cody Garbrandt. I thought Cody Garbrandt was overrated since before the Dominic Cruz fight, right? So I bet on Tomas Almeida big, and he just fucking starched Tomas Almeida. Shit was crazy, bro. But all right, let me so let me just tell you all my history with Garbrandt. So his last amateur fight against Jarrell Hodges, he got knocked the fuck out. But I don't mean, a little flash knockdown, haha, pick the guy back. I mean like out cold, stiff, like flashlight in his eyes, smelling salt, bring out the stretcher, the whole bit. So I was already looking to fade him when he turned pro because of what I saw, as an amateur, right? But the thing that happened was, he's still young. His technique was getting on point. He had some super fast hands. He was running through everybody. He got the Dominic Cruz performance. Now, I don't want to sit here and discredit the Cruz performance, which a lot of people consider to be, some people say that that's one of the best performances of all time. And at the time, it felt very special. But when you actually look at the numbers of that fight, like, his output was fucking low as hell. Like, it was still 68 significant strikes in 5 rounds. Dude, that's low. And like 68 significant strikes in 3 rounds is low, but in 5 rounds, that's super low. It's just that Cody had 2 knockdowns, and then he did the robot afterwards. He did his little dance. So people were, going crazy. And plus how Dominic was looked at that time, like it made sense. You know what I mean? But there was also an insane amount of trash talk. Dominic was acting uncharacteristic. Not going to discredit that win, just saying that maybe it was a bit overblown because those numbers, then 2 knockdowns are beautiful, but 68 significant strikes in a 5-round fight, that's too low, bro. That is very low. So, but back to my point. Here's what I was trying to get at. So the Dominic Cruz fight happened in December 2016, right? He didn't come back for the first Dillashaw fight until November 2017. So that's almost a full year, not quite a full year, but almost a full year. So why did Cody Garbrandt take almost a full year off after what many people consider to be, the best UFC performance of all time, right? And what it was, I don't know if a lot of y'all remember, he had these back and neck issues, and they actually had to fly Cody Garbrandt out. Was it Germany, to get these injections done and do all these things. And ever since then, he just hasn't looked the same. He looks a lot more rigid. He looks a lot more stiff. The punch speed isn't quite there like it once was. His only win since that time, the Asuncao win. Look, the knockout is like a holy shit knockout. It's a knockout you'll show your friends. But the actual technique of the knockout, his hands all the way down here, like he's like fucking loading up like all the way back, and then just, that it was ugly technique, but a beautiful knockout. And I just don't know how many more, he's got in him, man, because like I said, so we had all those health issues, like the back issues, in the year off between the Cruz and the Dillashaw fight. So then he goes in there against Dillashaw, gets brutally knocked out. Then he fights him again, and he looks worse the second time. The second time he starts charging him like a madman, throws that same overhand right 3 times in a row, then gets dropped and goes down. Next fight against Pedro Munoz, Pedro chopped him down expertly with the calf kicks. Cody Garbrandt, people are like, oh, Cody's a wild man. Why did he charge him recklessly? Why did he lose his head? You know why he lost his head? Because the calf kicks were adding up, and it was basically a point where, shit, 1 or 2 more of these, I'm not going to be able to walk. So I have to make a decision right now to go out there and knock this man out, because that's the only way I can win this fight. And he tried his best, but unfortunately his best wasn't good enough, and he got stiffened in that fight too. Comes back. Hey, the Asuncao fight was ugly too, especially the knockout, but at least it was like a highlight reel. So we thought maybe he's getting his confidence back. Maybe, whatever. Goes in there against Rob Font, back to the same shit, bro. 5-round fight. Only lands 63 strikes, 63 significant strikes in a 5-round fight. That is low-ass output, man. And, man, does Rob Font not hit hard or something? Because Rob Font hit him 176 times and didn't drop him or anything, which is kind of sus, man. Because I thought Rob had heavier hands than that. But then the next fight tries to drop to flyweight against Kai. And we can talk about the knockout, beautiful knockout about Kai, but let's talk about this. Let's talk about what actually happened in that fight. Cody's so concerned about getting hit now. He's so worried about his chin. Cody's aggression was gone. Cody was literally just running around, the cage, trying to throw the occasional calf kick. He's got that one little slick calf kick he does, and this and that, and mixing the occasional takedown. But it looked bad, dude. And now you're coming back, and here's the thing. Trevin Jones is a massive step down in competition. Trevin Jones also has insanely low output, but if there's one thing about Trevin Jones, he's got that one-hitter quitter. And it's funny because on his regional fights, he wasn't out here getting too many knockouts, but he comes to the UFC, knocks out 2 legit guys off the bat. Timur Valiev, Mario Bautista, man. Mario Bautista, is about to be a top 15 guy if he isn't already, right? And Trevin was competitive with him first round, knocks him the fuck out second round. And then these next few fights, kind of just represent kind of the new breed, Saeed Yakub Rakhmonov. I know he got released, but he was one of these guys that can just shoot takedown after takedown after takedown. He's nasty, and Cody's not going to shoot takedown after takedown after takedown. Different matchup. The Javid Basharat fight. This is drastically different because Javid Basharat is one of these long guys with insane volume. Listen to this shit. Javid Basharat landed more strikes in that 3-round fight against Trevin Jones than Cody Garbrandt's landed in any fight he's had in his UFC career, 3 rounds or 5. And let me say this, in that fight against Javid Basharat, Trevin landed just as much output as Cody has in all his fights. So basically, I know Trevin can match this output. I don't know if Trevin can match other output. I call him Trevin Woodley for a reason, because he refuses to throw a punch, but when he does let his hands go, he's dangerous. And then I bet on Ione against Trevin because I thought that was a fucking mismatch and a half, a guy with high-ass output. Ione in his fight against Victor Henry, do you want to know how many strikes Ione threw and landed in that fight? All right, listen to this. In Ione's fight against Victor Henry, he attempted 277 strikes and he landed 134 of them. So when I saw that compared to Trevin's volume, I was like, okay, that's night and day volume. Of course I'm taking Ione here. Whereas with Cody and Trevin, they have about the same volume, but one guy is very worried about that chin, does not have the confidence like he used to. So I see there being moments when these guys are just kind of staring at each other. They're just kind of circling around and the crowd's booing and this and that. And hopefully, eventually, if Trevin actually decides to let his fucking hands go, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu too. Not that I don't think that'll matter here, but if Trevin lets his hands go, he can floor this guy, man. Like, he can floor this guy. Will he? Will he not? I don't know. But what I do know is that at least this is a fight for Trevin where the output difference isn't so significantly different. Isn't so, it's not by a wide enough margin where, like, I have to worry about him getting out volume. Cody's volume is trash, and it always has been. It's just that he's been able to land knockdowns in fights. He does the robot after he lands those knockdowns, but it seems to me like those days are long gone. The combination of, the back neck injury he had, plus getting knocked the fuck out all the time, every single time, losing your confidence, already a low volume fighter to begin with. I see a staring contest. Hopefully Trevin can make something catch him, because if there's any side I'm betting on, it will be a plus 150 dog to fade this current version of Garbrandt. And back to what we were talking about, how people with their past accomplishments, they still, get some pull because of what he did a million years ago against Dominic Cruz. The same night Ronda Rousey fought Amanda Nunes. Like, how fucking long ago was that, right? Like, so, yeah, I'm gonna go Trevin Jones by knockout. It's just, I would have no one to blame but myself if Trevin Jones goes out there and just stares at him for 3 rounds. This could be a 3-round staring fight. And if it's a split decision, then there is value on the plus 150. But for my sake, I hope that he comes out here. Let's touch that chin one time and go home. So let's see what happens. Oh yeah, but my pick is Trevin. But let's see. It's contingent on Trevin actually letting his fucking hands go. Trevin Woodley. Now, next up in the middleweight division, I know y'all are ready for this one. Next up, in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Derek Brunson, he's 23-8, taking on Dricus du Plessis, who is 18-2. Currently, they got it. Dricus du Plessis minus 225. The comeback on Derek Brunson is plus 185. So, this to me, usually when you have like the up and coming prospect versus the seasoned vet, just depending on where they are in their exact careers, I'll go certain ways. Like, if the up and coming prospect has been tested and the vet is on their way out, then I love the prospect. But if the prospect hasn't quite proven shit and the vet, still has some tactics up his sleeve, then I go with the vet. But the thing is, Dricus has been testing himself since before his UFC career. I mean, you all saw his 2 fights with Roberto Soldich, both wars. I mean, both in intense high level fights that he was having before he got to the UFC. Then he gets to the UFC and he's been tested properly, man. And here's the thing about Dricus. It's awkward, but it's violent, right? Like, it doesn't look the prettiest. He's kind of stiff. He's kind of rigid, but he's got that death touch. He's got insane mental fortitude. And he's the kind of guy that will be there to the bitter end. Even if he's gassing out, he's going to push through it. Even if he gets taken down, he's going to get back up. He gets wobbled. As long as he's conscious, he's still going to be there. And with Derek Brunson, you got to give shout out to him. He's been in the UFC a long ass time. Fantastic wrestler, one punch knockout power. My issue with Brunson has been 2 things. One, he's always had a knack for, blitzing with his chin straight up in the air and can get countered. The other red flag is that, I think that Brunson is a great hammer, but not a good nail, right? Like, and I noticed that back when I saw him fight Yoel Romero in Atlanta. It was actually Gwinnett, Georgia, but we'll call it Atlanta. First 2 rounds, Brunson was kind of doing his thing a little bit, but Yoel was still there. Yoel stood up to the bully. Yoel got him out there in the 3rd round. And I know for a fact Dricus is going to stand up to the bully. And when you stand up to Brunson, you tend to break him. So for that reason, I think Dricus can overcome any early adversity presented to him if there even is any. And I think he's going to give Brunson a reason to possibly consider, retiring. So all respect to Brunson. No bad things to say about him, but this is just business. And at the end of the day, I got Dricus du Plessis to defeat Derek Brunson. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Viviane Araujo or Araujo. I've called like all her fights and I still don't know, but I know I love her. She's 11-4, taking on Amanda Ribas, who is 10-3. Currently, they got it. Amanda Ribas -130. The comeback on VV Araujo is +110. So there's one that opened -110 a piece, and now action came in on Ribas. And like last week with the Muniz and Allen fight, it also opened a pick'em. I ended up betting Brendan at +188 on fight day. I tweeted it out because, like I said, like I picked Muniz on the show, but I said very specifically, this is a dog or pass situation. And we know that Muniz might take him down. We just don't know what's going to happen after that. And I was very happy with what I saw after that. So yeah, that was good. But back to this, man. What's interesting about these two is that you got Vivi, who's a former 35er, taking on Amanda, who's a former strawweight, 115. They're meeting at 125. And, Ribas, I think that she's very professional with how she fights. I think she knows exactly what her game is. Some kick standing here and there. Maybe occasionally lets her hands go. Nicely timed judo throws, and then on the mat, she's a black belt, some arm bar, some rear naked chokes. Like, I like her. She's solid. She's got a great attitude. So I'm a fan of Amanda Ribas. The issue with Amanda Ribas is that you don't often see women that are chinny. And my evidence that, I do kind of think Amanda Ribas is a bit more on the chinny side for women's MMA is, on a regional scene. She got knocked out in the first round by Polyana Viana. In the UFC, she got knocked out by Marina Rodriguez. In the UFC, she got dropped by Virna Jandiroba, who's not known for dropping people. So I think that Amanda Ribas's chin is in question, which is you don't often see in women's MMA because they don't have those, one hitter quitter type fighters. Enter Vivi Araujo, her UFC debut. She absolutely starched some girl with overhand rights, and now she's starting to get more comfortable in there. Now she knows what it means to go 5 rounds, and honestly, I just think she's a lot more physical than Amanda. Certain things that have maybe plagued Araujo in the past have maybe been, gassing down the stretch, but in the Alexa fight, she threw 126 significant strikes and landed 2 takedowns, and I see the physicality slightly being a bit too much for for Ribas here. But Ribas is good, man. You can't sleep on her, especially if she's not getting touched. But I think this is a spot where she can get touched. I also think she can possibly get taken down here. Like, going into this, I really think there might be a big physicality difference. Now, I'm open to being wrong if that's just not the case, but it seems to me like Vivi is going to be the bigger girl here. Like, let me see the stats real quick. Like, maybe, it's only 1 inch height and 2 inch reach advantage for Vivi. But I think, like, mass wise, I think she's going to be a bit more dense than Amanda Ribas, just to put it lightly, because one of them's dropping a weight, one of them's going up in weight. So I'm going to go Vivi to edge this decision, and it's funny because I liked Amanda Ribas against Tracy Cortez, interestingly enough. But here, I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards Viviane Araujo to get this decision. Maybe, okay, this is a hot take. I'm not predicting this, but maybe she can rock her too, man, because that chin of Ribas is, it's been suspect for a while, so we'll see. But I'll go with Vivi here. Now, before I talk about Marquez versus Barriault, y'all do me a huge favor. Smash the like button. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. And then after this is over, leave me a comment. Now just give me 1 second. Okay. Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Julian Marquez. He's 9-3, taking on Marc-Andre Barriault, who's 14-6. And currently, they got it. Marc-Andre Barriault -125. The comeback on Julian Marquez is +105. So is an interesting fight. Initially it actually opened Julian Marquez minus 148. So it flipped a bit, and I understand why. But here's what I got to say about Marquez, man. So when he first came into the UFC, I thought that like he was this big, burly, scary dude, opportunistic submissions, one punch knockout power, tough as fuck, man. But the thing about him is his process is just not something I can get behind. And he's not the kind of guy that can win decisions. He's never won a decision in his life. You would have 100% lost the decision to Maki Pitolo, but you got to give the guy credit for his heart and his resolve and his willingness to dig deep when going gets tough. So props. But I really thought that Julian Marquez looked awful in the Maki Pitolo fight. I thought he looked awful in the RoboCop fight, man. Like, I don't know any background info. Like, has he been having some health concerns? Does he just not train seriously? Like, is he just more focused on his podcast with what's the name of my girl? Kendra Lust? Because these last few, like, I have not been impressed with Marquez one bit. Now, on the other hand, with Marc-Andre Barriault, that last one, he just ran into a tough matchup, and Fluffy Hernandez. Fluffy's been doing his thing. Fluffy's been developing that style where you can just take these motherfuckers down 8 times a fight and just keep shooting relentlessly. So that turned out to be a bad matchup for Barriault. But besides that, man, I think that Barriault has been getting better. He's training at Sanford MMA or Kill Cliff, whatever you want to call it, and he's getting the right looks. And, I think that this is a much better matchup for him. And you always have to be worried about the opportunistic finishing ability of Julian Marquez, a guillotine, a comeback knockout, whatever. He's a scary guy, but I hate his process. And he's looked atrocious his last few fights. So I think he's on his way out, quite honestly. And I'm not sure if he even takes this seriously. I don't want to put words in his mouth, watch him come in out here, have an amazing performance. I'll give him his credit. But from what I've seen, I think Marquez might be trending down. And it's sad to say about a guy that's only, he's only like 32 or something? Yeah, he's 32. But the Maki Pitolo and the RoboCop fights, like, dude, you don't just overlook those and just write it off and act like it was no big deal. It was a huge deal. Did not look UFC caliber neither. So let's see if he made some adjustments. I'll go Marc-Andre Barriault for the win. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a match between Ian Machado Garry. He's 10-0, taking on Kenan Song, who's 19-6. Currently, they got it. They got an Ian Garry minus 800. The comeback on Kenan Song's plus 550. I was telling my friend, hey, if the line's better than minus 750, there's value, but it's not better than minus 750. But I like Ian Garry a lot, man. I really like this kid. I know people, they get too caught up in the whole oh, he's Irish, therefore he thinks he's McGregor and all this bullshit. And it's like, bro, like, shut the fuck up. Just because someone's from the same country as McGregor does not mean he's trying to be McGregor. And not only that, what I respect about Ian Garry, a few of the things I respect about Ian Garry, I respect him a lot. So where do I start? I mean, there's a guy that, he already had gone 5 rounds on his regional scene before he got to the UFC. I've seen him get taken down, pop back up. I've seen all elements of his game. I've seen his chin. I've seen his toughness. I mean, he's not just a pretty boy. Like, this guy is a real fighter, and he's willing to dig deep. He's willing to go through it. But when he can get off on his game, super long, 6'3", got that long reach, and his combinations, once he starts to feel like the octagon is his home, I really do think that this is a prospect to look out for, man. And, I did bet on him in the Darian Weeks fight. I did bet on him on the Gabriel Green fight. But, I got like minus 155 against Gabriel Green, and like minus 230 against Darian Weeks. Now I have to pay minus 800 against Kenan. And, I mean, it's like, here's the thing about Kenan. Kenan can crack. Like, if there's one thing about Kenan, he's got a big right hand. But aside that, the volume's on the lower side. Aside that, he can be taken down. Aside that, he can be knocked out. And I actually really like what the UFC are doing here. You know, a lot of people are criticizing them for, you know, like why is Ian Garry, you know, getting gifted all these matchups? And I think that's not fair. I think that there's things you guys got to understand. Like, the kid's 25. He's just a kid. And also, the way the first 3 UFC fights went, like, he clearly won all 3 of them. But, you know, if he was just starching all these guys easily, not getting touched, then you give him, you know, that bigger step up in competition. But because, you know, these fights have been going 3 rounds and he's only 25, give him a little more time to develop, like, let him feel comfortable inside the octagon. That's why Kenan Song's, you know, a good test for him. You know, Ian's only 10-0. Kenan Song's had 25 pro fights. Kenan Song has more knockouts in the UFC than Ian Garry. So, like, what I'm trying to say is that despite the odds, this is a good next step up the ladder for Kenan, for Ian Garry, man. And I think it's when he passes, man. It's just like, we can't just rush Ian Garry to the top 15 when he's only 3 fights deep and he's 25 years old. Like, how's this kid going to look when he's 27 years old? So that's why we give him matchups like this. We let him get his confidence, let him get a couple highlight reel knockouts, and then we talk about moving him into a prospect showdown, a top 15 match, whatever the case may be. But perfect next step for him. And I think he passes with flying colors. And I think there's a chance he even comes out here and knocks him out. So I'm going to go with Ian Garry here. Now, this next one I have a bet on. So next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Mana Martinez. He's 10-3, taking on Cameron Saaiman with 7-0. And currently they got it. Cameron Saaiman minus 300. The comeback on Mana Martinez is plus 250. So, yeah, right, as of right now, I took a 1-unit shot on Mana Martinez at plus 250. I thought that the line was a bit wide for a lot of reasons. Firstly, I got a lot of respect for Cameron Saaiman. I like Cameron Saaiman. I mean, what's there not to like? Like, you watch his Contender Series fight and his UFC fight, and he solidly lost the first 7 minutes of both those fights, man, and made some fantastic adjustments. You know, on the Wang Kim fight on Contenders, like, Wang Kim was lighting my boy up with some big body kicks. But listen, Saaiman, super tough. He hung in there, and that 3rd round got a nasty knockout. The next fight, when he welcomed Kozlo to the UFC, you know, Kozlo was doing his thing for about 7 minutes, but then, I don't know if you'll remember, Cameron Saaiman landed this disgusting illegal knee. Like, I'm talking like a bad illegal knee. Like, the dude needed to take all 5 minutes and everything. But he was like, I ain't no bitch. So he could have got a DQ win, but I ain't no bitch. So he wanted to go in there and keep fighting. And it cost him, because all he had to do was survive the last round and he would have made it to a draw. So basically what I'm trying to say is, like, when you talk about a minus 300 favorite, you know, minus 300 favorite shouldn't come out here and lose the first 7 minutes of every fight. And against Mana Martinez, you know, Mana Martinez ain't no Steve Kozlo who's 6-0, you know, never fought anybody. Mana Martinez ain't Wang Guan Kim or whatever. Like, bro, like stop it. Like, Mana Martinez is a dude that, like, he's already been in there with 7 UFC or Contender Series vets already, and he's still young. And the thing about Mana is that he hasn't even shown what he's capable of in the UFC yet. If you watch Mana Martinez's regional fights, I mean, he was like the bantamweight Ngannou, man. Like, he was sleeping dudes. Like, I'm talking death touch sleeping. I'm talking like, and not just against, like, Ricky Tercios, dude in the UFC, Jose Johnson, dude in the UFC. Like, he was fighting legit guys that are in the UFC and knocking them dead, man. Knocking them dead. And he gets to the UFC, and even though his 2 wins, the Guido one and the Brandon Davis one, even though they weren't quite up to the standard I had hoped for in terms of, you know, I wanted knockouts in both. he still showed some things, and I still think he clearly won both. So I was surprised they were split, but showed some other elements of his game. He can get takedowns as well. He's starting to feel more comfortable in there. And kind of like Ian Garry, I feel like when Martinez starts to, feel like the octagon is his home, I think you're going to start seeing those one-punch knockouts like we used to see back on his regional. Because on his regional scene, I was like, God damn, who's this kid? It just hasn't quite translated yet, but he's also young. How old is this kid? What, 25, 26? Hold on. Let me find out what this dude is. He's got to be 25, 26, right? Yeah, he's 26. You know what I'm saying? He's just a kid. He's not as much of a kid as the guy he's fighting. The guy he's fighting, he's like 21, 22. So, but you got to understand the guys that Mana fought in the UFC were like real vets, man. Like, they might not win all the fights, but like they're tough outs. And, that's some more seasoning. That's some more experience. Whereas now you're fighting a guy, who's had about half the fights you've had and is, scraping these wins out at the last minute. I mean, I just can't get to minus 300 on Saaiman. Like, minus 300 on Saaiman implies that Simon's just going to come out here. Saaiman is just going to come out here, spinning, kick this guy in the face one time, and let's call it a night. Because Cameron does have a great kicking game. Cameron is a tough kid. I like Cameron. Trains with Dricus. I like everything about him. I just don't understand minus 300 in this spot. This is the most experienced guy you've ever fought. This is the best guy you've ever fought. And this guy is starting to come into his own. Hopefully, I want to see that breakout performance. I've been waiting for it. Hopefully, this is his coming out party. Because if you watch, like I said, go watch Martinez regional fights, and it was like, God damn, like this guy's gonna be in the UFC soon. Like, he was sleeping these dudes. Like, he had like melatonin in his hands, man. So if he can get back to that and start to feel a little more comfortable, then I'm down to see what he does. And also, he used to train with James Krause, but now he's back in Texas training with I think the guy's name is Bob Perez, Derek Lewis's old coach. So, Mana said that he used to knock out a lot of Coach Perez's students. So Coach Perez brought him on, you know what I'm saying? So hopefully they can, make him feel a little more comfortable, and hopefully he can get that first UFC knockout, but if not, a win. So either way, I thought this line was off. So as of right now, I put 1 unit on Mana plus 250, considering putting another unit on it. But as of this podcast on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, I've only played him for 1 unit. And y'all know where to look when I add more bets. My Twitter at Best Fight Picks, my betmma.tips/Best Fight Picks. And yeah. So Mana Martinez is my pick and my bet here, plus 250. So we got a couple more fights. After I do these last few fights, I'll do the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. And then I'm down to answer any questions. So y'all feel free to ask me some questions. Now, next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Jessica Penne. She's 14-6, taking on Tabitha Ricci, who's 7-1. Currently, they got it Tabitha minus 300. The comeback on Jessica plus 250. I mean, Tabitha was wasn't she like only like minus 150 the first time they fought? Now she's like minus 300. So I'm all good on that. She got a slick jiu-jitsu game. I don't think it's, the way people kind of hyped it up when she first came into the UFC. But, she's still solid on the mat. Jessica's solid on the mat too. Jessica's got some nice back takes. My issue is Jessica's 40 years old, and credit to Jessica, because remember when she tried to change her biological passport and she was going through all that stuff, and she actually came back and beat some people. Beat Godinez, beat Carolina. So she did some things, but that last fight against Cody, she really got chopped down with those leg kicks and was kind of showing just a bit of a decline, kind of like what we saw prior to those 2 wins she got somehow. And with Tabitha, I can't sit here and act like I'm overly impressive, but I just think she'll be a little bit more youthful, just have that vigor about her, and just go out there and just slightly out hustle someone that, what was the age difference here? Let's check out the age difference here real quick. Yeah, I mean, bro, the age difference, what 12-year age difference? So yeah, I'm gonna go with Tabitha, just younger, fresher, but I'm good on that minus 300. Next up in the bantamweight division, we got a match between Farid Basharat, he's 9-0, taking on Damon Blackshears, 12-4-1. And currently, they got a Farid Basharat minus 410. The comeback on Damon Blackshears plus 330. So Damon, he's the guy that's paid his dues on the regional scene. Kind of reminds me of like, no disrespect, but like a poor man's Aljamain Sterling. He does have a bunch of funky submissions on his record, and you don't want this guy on your back. You don't want this guy, dangling off your neck. You don't want him grabbing one of your limbs. He's athletic. He can pull some stuff off. But Farid, similar to Farid's brother, Javid, Farid's a mean dude, man. Farid's got insane output, and when you want to talk about insane output, like can I read you Farid's number on his Contender Series fight? Like, do you want to know what gorgeous numbers are? Let me tell you what gorgeous numbers are. Look at this. Look at the difference. Look at this strike differential, right? Farid outstruck this dude he fought on Contender Series 163 to 39 on total strikes, right? Like, god damn, man, like that's some output and a half. And in addition to that, because some of y'all were making up bullshit about how, well, Valentina's output's low because these fights are going to the ground. Yeah, well, Farid landed 3 takedowns in this fight and still landed 163 strikes. So 3 takedowns, 163 significant strikes. Yeah, don't even try me on no bullshit, all right? So this guy's output's absolutely insane. It just comes down to, can Damon do some funky backpacking Aljamain shit to him? And of course you got to bring up the line, -4 something, -500, probably not much value in there. So I get it. And Damon's experience. Damon did lose to Chris Moutinho a long time ago, but still happened. But that being said, man, I'm going for Reed to get it done, man. I like the Basharat brothers. I love their volume, their output. I love what they stand for. They're prideful individuals, but they're respectful individuals. I like them a lot, and I think they're the future from Afghanistan, man. I mean, like, you remember when my boy Cr Bahadurzada, he was actually like one of my first interviews on Half the Battle back in the day. Check that out. Cr Bahadurzada, like, man, we talked about, he was like walking over dead bodies in Afghanistan, like he was doing dude was living that life, man, and made it all the way to the UFC. So I'm inspired by stories like that. And yeah, but anyways, yeah, I got Farid. Now, last but not least, and now's a good time for y'all to submit some fan questions. So the way I'm gonna do it from now on is I'm gonna get to the fan questions at the end of the show. I've been advised that that's the best way to do it. And some of the stuff y'all already said, I read it, but I'll just respond to it at the end of the show. So yeah, y'all give me a like, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and when this is over, leave me some comments, share, all that stuff. I truly appreciate it. But last but not least, we got a matchup in the lightweight division between Loic Radzhabov. He's 16-4, taking on Esteban Ribovics, who's 11-0. But like, it's funny. Y'all ever played FIFA before? And like, y'all know how like the stock commentator is British, right? You can change it to Spanish, which I think is more intense because like then you hear them going go, all that. So like I love in Spanish, it's a lot more intense. But if you have like the stock British commentator on there, I feel like Esteban Ribovics, that's probably how you pronounce his name. I feel like the British dude would be like Esteban Ribovic. So Esteban Ribovic, look, he's an exciting counter striker. He's a guy that comes from Argentina. So like, y'all know how I feel about my Argentines, man. Like, a lot of pride, a lot of spirit. You're not going to win an argument. They're very stubborn. It's just, that part of the world hasn't quite developed like you want them to. But to this man's credit, he's a kid that, he's in the States training at Killcliff, Sanford. But interestingly enough, guess who also is training at that exact same gym? His opponent, Loic Radzhabov. And funny, I forgot to mention this when I was talking about the Brunson and Duplessis fight. When Duplessis is in the States, he does his training at Killcliff, just like Brunson. Pretty funny, right? So we got 4 guys on this card that train at Killcliff fighting each other. Derek and Duplessis, and Loic Radzhabov and Esteban Ribovic. So look, the deal with Loic is like, I mean, look at the level of competition he's beat Chris Wade unanimously. You know what I'm saying? Beat Alex Martinez, who was a stud in PFL. You know, went the full 5 with Haush Manfio, the champ. Like, so like this dude has been around the block. He's fought legit competition. And then Ribas, like I said, tough Argentine, good counter boxing, not the best takedown defense, but he can get back up and he will fight. So I respect him. But here's the thing. I'm worried about the short notice. And the reason why, usually I didn't care too much about short notice because I thought a lot of these guys would be in great shape. Like, for example, last week I bet on Charles Johnson against O'Day, right? And from everything I could see, Charles Johnson, you see his Instagram, he's ripped. He's got a 6-pack. He's been training in Thailand. It seems like, hey, short notice, no problem. Like, this motherfucker's going to come out here in the best shape of his life. And then, like, the fight gets changed to a catch weight at 130 pounds. And then after the fight, you find out Charles Johnson had a sinus infection and he's gassing out in rounds 2 and 3, which is like something he never used to do in any of his fights. So the reason I bring that up is because, like, I'm worried that Loic is not at 100%. Like, he took this fight on a week notice. Like, are we like, yeah, you're the better fighter. You should be favored here, man. Like, and if you're at your best, I mean, look at the guys you've been in there with, man. Like, you went 5 rounds with Natan Schulte, bro. Like, all respect. Like, you're the better dude here. It's just about, like, are we getting you at your best? Because, like, with Charles, I still think Charles Johnson's a better fighter than O'Day Osborne. I just think that Charles Johnson had a sinus infection and couldn't breathe after round 1. You know what I'm saying? That fight was in slow motion. I expected O'Day to slow down like he always does past round 1, but I thought that Charles Johnson was known for insane cardio, but sinus infection, short notice, catch weights, blah, blah, blah. So now, okay, I'm trying to learn a lesson. Is that same bullshit going to happen here with Loic? Like, is Loic showing up, you know, like we want him to? I mean, at least the fight hasn't been changed to a catch weight, you know, I'll tell you that. But yeah, so I'm gonna go Loic because I think he's more well-rounded. I think he can mix things up. I think he can fight anywhere this fight goes, whereas Esteban just mostly dangerous with his hands. But if you see the weigh-ins and Loic's got some love handles, if Loic, you know, I mean, this kid Esteban Ribovic, he's never gone to a decision in his life, man. Like he's just not experienced. He's never fought anybody. But listen, Rad Sabah, Loic, don't come in here with no love handles and, you know, sinus infections and any bullshit. And you should get this done. So, yeah, I'll go Loic. All right. So now I'm going to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. You'll do me that big favor. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe, and drop me some comments and some questions. I'll be happy to answer them. So, fight to watch. So this is a tough one. All right. I'd say the fight to watch is Geoff Neal versus Shavkat. I understand it's a minus 500 line, but when Geoff Neal's at the best of his game, he's not a guy that's going to look plus 400 in this spot. If he's looking like he did off his deathbed, maybe so. But regardless, I want to know how good this guy Shavkat is. And if Shavkat comes out here and just gets rid of Geoff Neal, which I don't think has happened in a very long time to like pre-UFC, hey, man, hey, you're the real deal. And Geoff Neal, you get this win, I mean, you just derailed a hype train. You know, people are saying this guy's going to be a champ. I was never on that boat, not saying he can't be. But like I said, I noticed something more special in Jamal Hill. I noticed something more special in, what was the example I was just about to name? Sorry about that. Oh, yeah, Khamzat Chimaev. Like when I saw those guys, I didn't have much questions about future greatness. Whereas I'm not saying that Shavkat can't be that guy. I just still need to see a little bit more. And Geoff Neal is going to give him a fight. So for that reason, that's my fight to watch. My fighter to watch, Mana Martinez. Look, man, on his regional scene, he was absolutely killing dudes, like one-punch knockouts. He was like the bantamweight and Ngannou. And in the UFC, he's only 25 years old. Like, it hasn't quite, just hasn't quite materialized, but sometimes these kids need to start feeling a bit more comfortable in there, get their feet wet. Like Manel Kape, for example. Manel Kape lost his first 2 UFC fights, but then he starts starching dudes. Now he's feeling comfortable. Now he's in the title talks. Not saying, Mana will be in title talks, but all I'm trying to say is sometimes you got to get your feet wet a little bit feel like the octagon is your home before you're able to perform at your best. And now that he's had those experiences under his belt, I'm curious to see if he does perform at his best, because when he does, he sleeps fools, and he's got a guy finally that's less experienced than him. So I want to see how he performs. So for that reason, Amanda Martinez is my fighter to watch. All right, y'all. Leave me those questions, comments, and I'll get to them, and then we'll wrap this up. What's up, Leo? All right, I'm scrolling all the way to the top. See what the fuck y'all got to say. All right. My boy Lou in the house that smashed the like button like Jones smashing Ciryl. I appreciate that. Now Taylor says fairly confident the only thing Jones is smashing this weekend is some bottles after he loses. I think he's smashing bottles, win, lose, or draw, my boy. Io said, call me crazy, but I think Grasso pulls off the upset and dethrones Valentina. Like I said, it's one of these next 3 fights. Someone's gonna do it. So I can see it. You gotta make that output count in this spot. Real talk. My boy Dominic came for the new logo, stayed for the breakdowns. I appreciate that. He also says to smash the like. What a smart guy. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Taylor said, look, nothing would shock me after the Tyler fight, but he doesn't think Grasso's the girl. Not a lot of people do. I mean, Valentina is minus what? You know? Kenshiro said, Jon Jones will never lose until he actually loses. Yeah, thank you. Doughboy Nasty said, 1 out of 10, how good was Lincoln Park? I think Meteora is their best record, personally. I think after Meteora, I wasn't feeling it. But, you know, obviously RIP Chester Bennington, and they always put on a great live show. So respect to them for sure. What's up, Wiz? Shout out to my brother Dan in the chat. Shout out to my brother Wiz. Jay Weezy said, what up, Dan? Why is the super chat not available? I always send you money when I catch half the battle live. Hey, I appreciate you asking that, man. So for some reason, like whenever people would donate to me on here, like I'd never get any of the money. I still haven't gotten any of the money for like the last 3 years. People have been donating. YouTube's on some other shit. But I left links to in the description to my Cash App, my PayPal, and my Venmo. So, you know, you're no obligation at all. But if you are feeling so inclined, the info's there, and it means a lot to me, man. Thank you. Okay. He's asking, did Jon Jones do the fight at Fight Ready? Now, I mean, he did like a couple months there back in the day, as in, you know, maybe like 6 months ago. But like, no, he's been doing this with his own people. Abu Dhabi, what's up? You know, I met this guy Abu Dhabi not too long ago. Cool guy. He said Lion hasn't moved on Shavkat at all. This is freaking me out. Is Neal live? Neal's only live if he's on top of his game, like he was against Bilal, like he was against Luke. But if he's like he was on his deathbed against Magny and Wonder Boy, then he's not live. This guy says Jon Jones is old and his bones are brittle. He's had a lot of wear and tear on his body. Are you like quoting Chael Sonnen, or did you come up with this yourself? He said he's going to be outmatched by Gane, who's younger, faster, and more power. Let's see. Jay Weezy said your boy Chinese Connor got murked by the guy you said had below average PI results. Well, I mean, it's facts. PI said he did have below average results. I didn't make that up. You know what I'm saying? Hey, shit happens. People get caught. When the real Connor was on his come up, he got stopped in the first round like 2-3 times before he came to the UFC. So there's growing pains, but I still think Japanese Connor is a talented kid. So was what it was. I mean, I can't go back and watch his regional fights and not still be impressed. So, you know, everybody loses for the most part. Let's see. Jared said, we also saw Francis make good jumps in defensive wrestling in the fight prior against Stipe. Very good point. Because I bet Stipe in that fight I loved it. I didn't expect it there, but I loved it. He did fucking suplex, or I don't remember if he suplex or blast double Stipe, but he took his ass down. So then the next fight, when I bet on Francis against Gane at like plus 120, plus 130, I don't remember. Look, yeah, I thought he was going to knock him out, but I wasn't that shocked that he took him down because he took down his prior opponent who was a D1 wrestler. Also, unlike Jones, Gane is a natural heavyweight and he's got incredible cardio. How do you know he's a natural heavyweight? You have a sample of his piss somewhere? Oh my god. Taylor said Santos had no knees and was a beast against who? Come on, bro. Don't. Yeah, I mean, he knocked out Jan Blachowicz and like a bunch of other dudes. There's a reason he's like top 10 most knockouts in the history of the sport. You don't gotta discredit someone to pick someone. You know, you can show guys respect. Marcus says Gane is the clear bet to make at underdog money. Jones will be 36 in July. He'll be slow and even less explosive than he was with Reyes and Santos. Too many living in the past with Jones at 205. Yeah, people live in the past all the time, 100%. But you know, greatness is greatness, and you know, I've seen GSP, one of the other all-time greats, come back from like a 3-year layoff and look better than ever. So, seen Dominic Cruz come back from a 3-year layoff and win a belt. So, with the greats, it's different. Even though I hear your point, but with the greats, it's different. Let's see. But this Marcus, I don't get, bro. Saying you don't understand why people think Jones is going to dominate heavyweight, creeping up on 36 in age, bro. I so disagree with that. On just the age being the merit for your reasoning. Like, we're talking heavyweight. We're not talking bantamweight. We're talking heavyweight. 36 is not old for a heavyweight. I've seen dudes go out there in their 40s and win belts. Like Randy Couture won a heavyweight in his 40s. Then fucking how old are Stipe and how old was Ward Doom when he won his belt, man? Like, I'm telling y'all, bro, like heavyweight, these dudes get second wins as they get up there in age. And isn't Francis like 36 also? So yeah, 36 heavyweight is not old, dude. 36 flyweight, bantamweight, that's old. But heavyweight, nah, dog. I disagree on that. My boy Brandon, Dan the Goat. I appreciate that, man. My boy Leo in here? Leo? Dom says we are getting triple C Johns. Are we? Are we? His training partners would get dog walked by Gane. Yeah, but that's irrelevant, dude. Like, I feel like some of y'all don't understand that the gym is different than the fight. Like, you don't bring in world champions to train with. You just need bodies and Shark Tank rounds where you're not fresh, but these guys are fresh for one round, and then you cycle them out round by round by round. Yeah, that's. I think this comment is insanely irrelevant. Let's see. All right. Sorry, there's so many questions here. That's why it's that's why it's taking me a second. Jared says the time is coming for Val, but I don't quite think it's yet. Blanchfield, though, Jersey stand up. Hey, shout out to my girl Blanchfield, cashing them dog odds. My boy said Grasso is better in the ego department. Interesting. I never thought about that. Dominic said Shavkat's better than Hamzat. Hard disagree on that, bro. Hard disagree. No, he's not. Neal is going to be embarrassed on Saturday. Shavkat going to destroy this dude. Okay. I'll be tuning in. Let's see if that's the case. Let's see if that's the case. Oh, what's up, my boy? Got my boy Leo back in the house. You want to help me answer these final questions, bro? Dimitar said, "Are we fading Derek Brunson? Hey, it's profitable. I've faded Derek Brunson many times throughout the years and always been profitable. AO said Gamrot is going to dominate Turner. Yeah, if he gets his low single game going. Dricus is going to knock this dude out. Let's see. Depends which Marquez shows up. I mean, how many different versions of Marquez are there? You know what I'm saying? Like, even when he was at his best, like, still couldn't win a decision. He's just one of these guys that is an opportunistic finisher. All right, let's answer some of these questions like this. Bruce said, Dan, it would be interesting to hear your recap and opinion on the Funky Queen Jordan Levitt win. Yeah, I got that one wrong, but when I view like my handicapping, sometimes it's easy to be like, well, all you talked about is how he twerked and this and that, but I don't let that shit affect my betting, because like last week when I talked shit about Alex Hernandez, I didn't bet Jim Miller, so it's all about the price, and that I'm able to separate the talk. The talk is to entertain y'all and to have fun, but the thing about it is, when I was capping this fight, can y'all point one example to me of Jordan Levitt showing any indication of any kind of early first round knockout power? I mean, with the slam against Wyman, I'm talking about like with hands, with knees. If y'all can show me like, because I want to learn from my mistakes, and if there was a fight that I missed or something that some kind of error in my handicapping where I missed the possibility of Jordan Levitt getting a first round knockout in a UFC fight, then I'm willing to go rewatch it and be like, you know what, I should have looked at this as evidence and considered it. But what I was worried about was Jordan Levitt taking him down and taking his back. Jordan Levitt getting a first round knockout was never on my bingo card and was never like an option. And if one of y'all thought that Jordan Levitt was going to get have a lot of success standing, then like, dude, fantastic call. But I put the work in, and there was no evidence that he'd have any success standing, as far as I could see. Maybe I missed something. So to me, that I didn't even view like that was a knock on my process. It'd be a knock on my process if I saw Jordan Levitt rock dudes and hurt dudes and finish dudes with strikes and all these things. Then I'd be like, man, how did I overlook that? But I don't feel like I overlooked shit. I was just wrong, period. And that's that. And I will be wrong again because I make a lot of bets and I've been in this game a long time. So, and then, dude, I get these fucking comments. This one dude loves to be like, oh, you picked that 23-0 Russian and this and that. It's like, bro, like, I didn't bet that 23-0 Russian, but I picked him. But he'll give me shit about that, but he won't comment on like, I bet 3 units on Aaron Blanchfield plus 150, I think. Won't mention that. Won't mention the Brendan Allen sharp ass dog bet. Won't mention the Jasmine Jastovicius dog bet. But we'll mention the Levitt fade as if you knew Levitt was going to get a first round knockout. Look, if Levitt submitted this guy or had a bunch of ground success, then it's like, you know what? There was an error in my handicapping. But if one of y'all can show me any kind of evidence of what I missed in my research showing that Levitt was going to have success standing, then I'm willing to admit I was wrong. To me, I just take it on the chin and move on, because we just started March. There's a long time to go in this year. Where do I see the most value? I mean, I bet on Mana Martinez plus 250. Does the short notice for Gamrot concern me? Now, I hear that guy's always in the gym, but again, if he needs a catch weight and pulls what Charles Johnson pulled, comes in here with a sinus infection, then I'll be worried. And if he fights at range, I'll be worried too. But if he gets on that, that low single series, he should be fine. What's up, MMA Girly? She says, going Shav, second round sub. All right. I'll see it. No, I don't think anyone's ever subbed Geoff before. Maybe not for a long time. So, yeah, let's see. Cheeto too. Yeah, Cheeto's one of those guys that's just elite mindset. Joe said, I'm with you on Mana, but yo, what the fuck was that versus Brandon Davis? I mean, what the fuck was what? I mean, clearly won the first round, dropped him twice in the second round, coasted in the third round. That's 29-28. I thought it should have been unanimous. You know, Joe said, don't you love when these guys, these clowns come out here at your throat over one wrong prediction, but then they won't say shit about actual bets, right? Like, it's all good, man. This is part of the game, man. I don't take it personally. They also won't show their faces. They won't go side by side, you know, with me on here, and it's all good, brother. It's all good, all good, all good. Tyler says not being able to get one-legged Thiago down was a red flag. Yeah, you know, I understand that point, but what you also got to understand is that Jones only shot one takedown in that fight. He wanted to kickbox. He, like I said at the beginning of the show, Jones likes to beat guys at their own game. So he just wanted to kickbox with Thiago. Tried one little half-assed takedown and got stuffed. It's not like he attempted 10 takedowns and they all got stuffed. He one little half-assed takedown got stuffed. All right, I'm gonna keep striking with this guy. You know, that's I think that's what that was. And he outstruck him, by the way. Bold says the argument is stupid. DC was double champ at 40 or almost 40. Exactly. 36 at heavyweight is not old, guys. Heavyweight, they're like a fine wine. They get better with time. Get Pfeiffer said who would be my top DK play. Don't ask me that. What you all need to do for my top DK play is this. Y'all need to go to dailyfanmma.com/BFP. Use my promo code BFP285 and get all of Brett Apley's content for free for this card. That'll give you a top DK play. Like, he's unbelievable with this stuff. So like I said, y'all, we're no strings attached. You don't have to, pay a little bit and then I'm saying Brett Apley is giving his content this week for free for half the battle listeners. DailyFanMMA.com/BFP. Use my code BFP285. Get his top DraftKings content for free this week, man. I mean, I don't understand what y'all got to lose. Thoughts on Kevin Lee versus Neal Magny matchup? Is that happening or is that just a fantasy match? Let's see. Bruce said, good articulation. Thanks. I was surprised and wrong too. Shit happens, bro. We're going to be wrong a lot more times, my boy. All right, y'all. Last call for questions. Last call. Brett is good. Brett is very good, people. I know Brett Apley very, very personally, and I hold him right up there, man. I mean, he's my friend too, but I'm saying, like, as far as the content is concerned. So I mean, y'all got to take advantage of this shit. It's free. Dan kind of slatey today. Did you mean salty? I ain't salty, dog. Come on, man. You just can't come at me with bullshit, man. I got zero tolerance for for making bullshit up. And I like you, brother. You know what I'm saying? But we can go side by side and debate these exact topics. And should we do that? Do I have time? Come on. Tell me what I'm salty about. Here's the link. But I only got like 5 minutes before my camera dies, so you got like 2 minutes to enter here. My boy Pound for Pound Dad Boss said, glad I got to catch this one live again. Thanks for the breakdowns, Dan. Keeping it real as always. That's what I try to do. Some people can't take it. It is what it is. But hey, open invite to come tell me how salty I am. I respect you too. You've been around here a long time, but respectfully disagree on that. But TikTok, click that link. Tell me what's up, bro. But yeah, if he's not gonna tell me what's up, then I just want to tell y'all, thank y'all so much for being here. For me, it truly means the world to me. And you know, y'all been showing me so much support, and like I'm just grateful. You know, I can't say enough besides the fact that I'm truly grateful for everything y'all have shown me. And you know, let's just keep it going. You know, so smash that like button for me, even if you agree or disagree. You know, we're just here for our love for the sport, and you know, we're allowed to disagree on stuff, but we can be respectful about it. You know, so smash the like, hit the subscribe, share. After this is over, leave me a comment, and let me know what y'all think Jon Jones is going to weigh in at on Friday. I'm curious about that. And then on Thursday night at 7 Eastern, I'm going to go live with Technical Tim and Brett Apley and Gugabe. They got their show and they invited me on, so I'm grateful. You know, I'm very happy to be there. So, yeah. But again, guys, thank you all so much for everything. Truly, truly appreciate it. Stay positive. Love your life. Quentin 311 out here. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.